When everything we consume is the worst thing ever by some mouth breather on the internet, how is anything truly the worst thing ever? Time for the only podcast to officially create a list of the worst movies ever made. The only one. For real. Worst movies ever.
Worst movies ever. You ever be watching a movie and just kind of think like, what the fuck am I doing? Why am I sitting here watching this? And then even further down that rabbit hole and think about like, what drove the people that made this movie to make this? Like, why would they spend the time to make something and have it be this fucking shitty? And that's where we're at today on this episode of Worst Movies Ever, where we talk about the remake to Herschel Gordon Lewis's classic Godfather of Gore splatter film, Blood Feast. This one was made in 2016, and it just makes me scratch my head. Like, I understand why you would make a remake to Blood Feast years prior to this. Remember when they had made that remake to 2001 Maniacs with Robert Englund in it? And I get why they'd want to do it, because that movie was super fun. The sequel was not very good. I think they made the sequel like a couple years later. I don't quite remember, but so I get why you'd want to revisit those movies. They have a lot of cachet and there's a lot of like nostalgia tied to them for the horror audience. But this movie, just like in every way, I sat the entire movie looking at the screen thinking, why did you do that? I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but Blood Feast 2016 resides in this weird place where the original movie, which is a super kind of like tongue-in-cheek, goofy, shittily made exploitation film that barely ran an hour, with horrible acting. And I mean, for the time it was pretty gross, but really bad special effects. And its tongue's planted so firmly in its cheek that in no way would you mistake this for anything other than kind of like a campy exercise. And Herschel Gordon Lewis, what he would do with the film, you know, just kind of speaks to what he was going for with it. There's a novelization that he wrote that it just like expands in such surrealist ways the fucking world of Blood Feast that of course you're not supposed to take it seriously. Then you look at the trailer that was made, which is just literally the cop character standing in front of a red screen, reading a prompt, just warning the audience not to stay in the theater if they are adverse to seeing gross things happening on screen. It's so iconic and so literal, with the classic timpanis from the movie playing, the dong, 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 that it just is such a fun vibe. Like all of it. I honestly, I love that vibe so much that I used that trailer as basically the blueprint for the intro of our anthology movie, Hole in the Wall. Like, I had my bud Andrew Shearer, who was on the podcast a few episodes ago, when we did the whole thing about Scream Queen Hot Tub Party. I had him play that character mixed with Criswell and deliver a very similar speech to start the movie. That's how much of an impression that thing made on me and how much I loved it. So to go from that to this movie, which is just superficially, if you look at it, honestly, really attempting to make a dark, gritty, realist, serious version of Blood Feast. I get why you would want to do that. Like, it makes sense. But to do it and not really fucking try to write a script? I just don't. I don't want to lead the cart before the horse. But holy shit, guys, this Blood Feast. I mean, the original movie was literally about some goofball dickhead that ran a fucking exotic food market, and just some like white lady comes in looking to cater because. Fuad Ramsey's this market. He runs a catering circus out of his like grocery store or whatever it is. And the lady comes in to try and like hire him to cater her daughter's birthday party. So Ishtar, the creepy, have you ever had an Egyptian feast? So he decides to sit and go around and kill people to serve the dead bodies at this soiree to resurrect some imaginary goddess Ishtar. It's so stupid. Transplant that to modern day, our attempt at making a serious, gritty horror film. The plot of this version of Blood Feast, after moving his family to Paris so his 35-year-old daughter could go to college. We'll talk more about this later. Fuad Ramsey's owner of a struggling rockabilly-style 50s American diner in Paris. Actually, not in Paris, in the outskirts of Paris, in what is labeled a suburb of Paris. Fuad accidentally drops his brain pills, like mental health psych pills, down the sink one morning, leading him to having hallucinations while on his night job guarding a museum of the goddess Ishtar, the Egyptian goddess who promises him wealth and an eternity of sexual pleasure. These visions drive him, thinking it will be for the best of his business and family, to prepare a blood feast that will resurrect the goddess Ishtar. So many questions about why you would decide things that went into that plot from a movie that was so simple. It's going to be impossible for me to sit and talk about this movie without talking about the original. Like, literally impossible. Because this movie, without getting to the verdict just yet, this movie literally references the original in so many odd ways that it's clear the filmmaker held reverence for the original and wanted to pay homage to it, but missed the entire fucking point of the movie in so many ways. But my verdict, while better on a technical level, because this movie, it just looks like a modern movie and it plays like a modern movie and has actual special effects made by Gutterballs director, the late Gutterballs director, Ryan Nicholson. It looks and feels and moves and sounds so much better than the original film. But this version suffers from being an awkward. And I'm not sure if this is 100% right because I couldn't find the information after I got done with the movie. I sat and looked it up and really could find no concrete information on this. But it feels like an awkward European production that doesn't quite nail the serious tone that the movie's going for, even remotely, which makes the entire film so tedious. Do you know what I mean by that? Like, there was a remake of, I don't even know if I would say it was a remake. You might be able to consider it kind of like a sequel / remake of Violent Shit years ago, where it was clearly a foreign production and they wanted to make it like they used to back in the day for the Western market. So it was all done in English, but it was clear that nobody really spoke English and they were forcing themselves. So the performance was super awkward, and it kind of like fucked with the immersion realism factor of the movie that it was clearly going for. The same thing is going on here, where the main cast, like the leads in this movie, Caroline Williams is the mom of this family, and two other actors that I just like. They're clearly American English speaking actors, but everyone else clearly European, barely can speak, and it informs everything about the performances to the script. And it just like the entire film wants you to believe this is some gritty, realist take on Blood Feast, but it is so awkwardly put together that in no way can you immerse yourself in this world. And it makes the entire film so tedious and so much worse than the lighthearted, goofy original it's based on, that it makes me wonder, like, was there anybody there that could like work as a liaison to go, yeah, let's push in this direction? It just was such an odd choice and ultimately like tanked this movie. Blood Feast 2016 sucks. It's not a good fucking movie at all. And as much as it tries, it has no idea ultimately what it wants to be. So is it one of the worst movies I've ever seen? No, there's moments of it that are kind of cool. And stylistically, it is interesting to look at in a lot of ways. But fuck, that script and the acting and some of the decisions that were made with this movie, it would be impossible for me to recommend this. Ultimately, this movie, by the end of it, you kind of just want it to be fucking done. And thankfully, it's not very long, so it does just fucking end. Let's get to the good, the bads, and the what the fucks.
What is good?
The score of this movie, while one of my bads is the audio, the score is like at times oddly Silent Hill-esque with a very kind of like light and airy piano score. And then other times it has a more metallic sound to it. So I kind of dug a lot of the score in this, even though it was mixed so fucking high. Like the entire thing, and I don't want to get to the bads yet, but the entire mix of this film is so abrasive for no reason at all, other than just to like accentuate that this is a horror movie and you should be frightened and shocked by it. I gotta give props to the score of the movie, and the production value is far superior in literally every way than the original film. While if you were to pull up the Blu-ray of Blood Feast and put it in, there's quite a lot of charm to, you know, the updated Something Weird video Blu-ray that was put out a while ago. Like Herschel Gordon Lewis shot on film, so the stuff looks and is exposed and sounds and feels good for what it is. But let's not act like it's a good movie. Like, I fucking love Blood Feast. Blood Feast might be one of my like top 10 favorite exploitation films of all time. I've watched it countless times and I fucking love it so much, but let's not act like it's a good movie. In this one, you know, the visuals, the editing, the score, all really well done. And it looks like a modern fucking movie. But let's get to Fuad Ramses in this. They attempt in one of the many ways that they give nods to the original in this. They make Fuad Ramses kind of walk around in the same outfit. You know, the shitty, like probably found it at a dime store 3-piece suit that Fuad, you know, skulks around in the original movie. In this one, because his family is struggling to get by due to the extreme costs of moving the entire family over to Paris, to the outskirts of Paris, I'm sorry, and opening up a diner that nobody wants to go to, he takes a night job at a museum and starts, because he, like I said before, accidentally flushes down the drain all of his mental health pills, which they never say what these pills are. And they never say what his like mental issue is. But this is the catalyst that turns him into having hallucinations of Ishtar. He steals this mask and a bunch of relics from the museum to make what you remember back in the original movie, where in back of the fucking catering building, like his business, you just go through a door and then all of a sudden there's this ridiculous looking like tome and statue and altar to Ishtar. In the basement, he has all of this stuff and he goes around and enacts the killings wearing this old Egyptian like hyena mask with horns. And the image of him skulking around in some of these stalking sequences is really cool to look at. And I think super underutilized. Like the gore factor of this movie, which we'll get to, it's very low. Remember how the original, like the entire reason it exists was to show protracted sequences of gore? That's not a thing in this movie, which is such an odd choice. But some of the imagery, as I had said before, like is kind of cool. Like they put together some cool looking shit in this. And then my last good, which is unfortunate because I would love to give more thumbs up for this movie, is I like that this movie, and I think it was like a solid decision to try and make a serious take, or to do a serious take on Blood Feast, and also pay tribute to the original with like, there's a Herschel Gordon Lewis Skype call in this, which is, I think he's, if I remember correctly, it's not a Skype call. It's like he's researching Ishtar. And there's a video on the computer that he logs up, and it's Herschel Gordon Lewis is like this researcher documenting the atrocities that were put forward by Ishtar. And there's also numerous other like audio cues, like the intro credit sequence of this movie, which is really super stylistic. Like the beginning intro credits and the outro credits and the way the film ends are super stylish. And I kind of love the tone that they went for. It establishes on the beginning and the back end a great tone. But the intro credit sequence literally has the speech that I was talking about before that they used as the trailer with the guy warning the audience. That audio's played over the credits, and at the end credits, the timpani from the original, the dong, dong, that leads into the end credits. And I thought those decisions were super cool. However, and let's get to the bads.
What is bad?
The decision to include these super goofy elements from the original movie into this movie that has very serious intentions is ultimately the film's downfall. Like, because nothing in the film lives up to the goofiness of these two things, even though they're played totally straight. And the attempt is to like create a really moody atmosphere. You can't help but just feel that they're kind of weird and goofy. And nothing else in this movie is trying to be that. It absolutely wants you to immerse yourself and watch a horror movie. So to have these super goofy things just makes the film fall completely flat. You know, it's just like the film all of a sudden, especially towards the end, when the blood feast happens, because folks, ultimately this movie follows a very similar trajectory where this guy wants to do the blood feast. So he goes around and starts killing people to put together the blood feast. And then at the end is the blood feast, which we never got in the original movie. Remember how Fuad Ramses gets shot and we never see the blood feast? This movie actually gives us the blood feast. And that blood feast by far is the goofiest shit in the whole fucking movie. And it like totally does not fit the rest of the fucking movie. So this movie just doesn't know what it's going for. Like, are you trying to have fun with this? Or do you want us to actually be scared by this movie? Because neither of those two things happen because they don't coalesce. And it fucking kills this movie. It makes this movie feel so forced. Like you really liked the original movie. And you want to, like, as a fan, honor it and give the fans the nostalgia, that nostalgia hit, you know, which was so big back when this was made in 2016, because we had stuff like Stranger Things and all this other 80s nostalgia kind of thing. And they obviously that's what this is. It's that dopamine hit for everybody to be like, oh, Blood Feast. Fuck yeah. I love this movie. But it doesn't work. It all feels so forced. One of the worst things I think a remake can do is pay awkward and forced homage to the original film instead of just being its own thing. I think the best remakes are always remakes that has the subtlest of nods to the original, just taking elements of that original film and putting it into the DNA of the new version. This movie, while it tries to do that, just ham-fistedly kind of does everything that it's attempting to do. And it made me so disheartened because I saw moments in this movie that could have worked so much better. And as I had said before, like, the movie starts with this great tone with the credits and that opening monologue, but it's played so straight with a couple people in a black room naked being strung up. Like, it's obviously just a stylistic choice because in continuity with the rest of the movie, it doesn't fit. It doesn't make sense. It's just a thing that exists to create a tone. It feels so forced. And I think, honestly, as much as I liked those elements of the nods, because it gave me that dopamine nostalgia hit, I think the film would be better without them. And it would have given the film its own identity rather than having me remember something that tonally is so much different than this in such a direct way. It's super unfortunate, and it makes you wonder, why is any of this here? Just unnecessary fan service for something that just takes itself so seriously, you know? That especially that intro thing, as I had said before, it's a warning to the audience telling you that you're about to watch something with horrific images in it and that you might not want to watch this movie when the movie never lives up to that. Yeah, there's some gore in it, but by this point in 2016, nothing in this movie is super fucking gross. We have a neck slitting, and then we have the blood feast. The intro credits probably have the grossest thing in it, where this guy gouges out this dude's eyes with his thumbs. The rest of the movie, nothing fucking happens. So to have like that thing setting up the movie, what are you doing? You just chopped yourself off at the fucking knees. Oh, and let's get to the audio in this movie, because one of my biggest pet peeves, and I feel so bad dogging on this movie so hard, but fuck, it just like disappointed me so much. The audio is so fucking obnoxious in this movie, in a movie that I already feel like was so forced. Like it feels like it so wants you to be horrified by what you're watching and what it's showing you, that it has to have this obnoxious movie trailer audio mix. And I hope you know what I mean by that, where there's constant huge auditory stings, and the score is constantly trying to dictate the tone of what's going on. And while I liked the score, the way that it's mixed and the way that it's used is so overbearing and so obnoxious that it just like oh man, it again tonally creates something that the film is just not delivering in any way. Also, which led me to wonder, and please, folks, if you know the history of this movie, please call in. The call line is in the episode notes. I'm not going to read it over the fucking podcast. Or email me at worstmovieseverpodcast@gmail.com, or comment on the Instagram post or whatever. Let me know, is this a European production? I know the director is German born, but I believe he lives in LA from what I had seen. But this, like, everything about this feels so European that when they show the diner and have this super stereotypical rockabilly song play every time the exterior of the diner, which looks so phony. Every time they show this diner that this rockabilly song starts playing for literally like 2 seconds, it felt like, you remember in all the 80s movies where anytime anyone from the Orient was shown on screen and they had to have the ding, 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 the stereotypical racist fucking Asian music. And I'm doing air quotes, but you can't see it. That rockabilly music was to that level for me. And I love rockabilly music, but it felt so fucking racist towards Americans. Or xenophobic. I don't know what the correct term is for it, but God, it triggered me every single time. I'm like, is that what the rest of the world thinks is America? And let's get to perhaps even beyond. I know the biggest bad of this movie for me is just like how it chops itself off at the knees when it comes to the tone of what it's going for. But the second biggest bad in this movie is the script and acting of this movie. Also the casting of this movie. Like, the script is super on the nose. So you're asking a multicultural cast, because it's clear there's a large percentage of the support cast of this film that are not native English speakers, that it's not their first language. And it shows because they have to try and spit out. And there's one actor in particular in this movie that he tries so hard to convey emotion in a sequence where the daughter, who's so miscast in this movie, she's supposed to be young, going to college, clearly mid to late 30s, saying daddy and all that. It feels so fucking phony. It feels so fucking bad. But the daughter is with her college friends at an empty theater, and they're talking about just life and whatnot. And the guys are talking to each other and them about, goofy sexual shit that's gone down between all of them. This one actor takes one girl aside, and she's crying because he humiliated her by telling a story about her puking on someone's dick when trying to give a blowjob. It's not the first time a really awkward sex comment happens in this movie. And the audio is trying to give you horror vibes, because in the background, while he's going to try and butter up the girl after she left and is like crying in the corner because she's so humiliated that he would do this to her and tell this story, Fuad Ramses is in the background skulking with the mask or whatever. And this guy with the horror music playing and Fuad in the background is trying so hard to tell this girl, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to humiliate you. I love you, actually. And I've always loved you. And he cannot speak. And this permeates through the rest of the movie in such a way that the seriousness of the tone of the movie just doesn't work. And they try so fucking hard with this cast that are all the two leads are fine. I mean, Caroline Williams, regardless of your thoughts of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, hasn't had the most stellar career. Let's be honest. And she's brought in for that horror pop. Obviously, she's not good in this movie at all, and it's unfortunate. She's not really given much. And honestly, getting rid of her wouldn't have really killed this. I think the decision to have the family in this movie was just kind of a really bad one. This movie, I mean, it should be clear at this point. I feel like the majority of the decisions in the script in this movie were just not great decisions, ultimately. I understand, the idea that they're going for, but nobody pulls through acting-wise. And I firmly believe that's all on the director. But there's no good performances pulled through in this movie. The casting of this movie is extremely poor. And the script is so on the nose that nothing anybody says holds any weight or is believable even remotely. And I know you're all sitting out there going, but Derek, come on. Are you trying to tell me the original movie had gravitas and weight and you could take it seriously? No, but the movie didn't take itself seriously. This fucking thing does. You're supposed to immerse yourself in this and feel the consequences of the actions and the decisions that are playing out before you. but you can't believe any of it because the acting is so shitty. And the things they're saying are so fucking removed from reality. Not in a campy way, but in a cringy kind of like, oh man, kind of way. The entire time, man. And it fucking sucks. Also, visually, even though I said it was really good, this film is awkwardly in handheld. The camera just is inexplicably shaky in places for no reason, because there will be beautiful, really nice looking visuals, but then out of nowhere, it'll all of a sudden become handheld for reasons, and it makes no sense. Other than maybe in the production, they just needed to speed up and get it done. But it felt like an aesthetic choice to have some of this in handheld, and it just looks cheap. When this movie obviously wasn't going for that. So, I guess that's kind of all I have for the bads, is that there's just literally zero tension, zero believability, and zero consistency in the tone. And it completely fucking kills this movie. Dead and flat. And then at the end, when it's suddenly the film, the feast happens, the film tries to be goofy, complete with the flight. What is that song? Dun, 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 dun. The flight of the bees or whatever, of the hornets or whatever that's called, and that's playing over top of the end sequence where the family, spoilers.
This is a warning. Thank you.
Are all drugged and eating the body of one of the friends for the blood feast. And the film just kind of falls flat on its face. And it's super unfortunate because I feel like the way it resolves itself script-wise is actually kind of cool. With him going and enacting the feast, they actually eat the people, and he has this vision of Ishtar, and he's like, I did all this for you. Can we be together? And Ishtar basically whips him the fucking bird and says, nah, thanks, bud, but I'm fucking out. I'm trading my position for yours. So peace. And then he basically gets sucked into the underworld, and all that's left are his clothes. And his family starts waking up from their drug-induced, psychosis of eating a person with a cop character showing up and showing the aftermath. With the timpani playing, and I was just like, "Whoa, that's kind of cool. I kind of like that." But I feel like the ending of the film should have been the tone of the rest of the movie, and that's what ultimately kind of kills this thing. For me, is that there are glimpses of what could have been, and it just isn't there. So let's get to the what the fucks.
What the fuck is that?
The biggest what the fuck to me is why the fuck are we in Paris? This decision feels more practical for production reasons than it does as being a necessity for the story. It feels like the director really just liked Paris. And really was this must have been filmed. And I don't know, again, correct me if I'm wrong, guys. Must have been filmed in Europe somewhere. But it forces the film to feel like a cross-cultural film. And it just doesn't click. It doesn't make sense that the majority of this film, or all of this film, is spoken in English by non-English speakers in Paris, when the original film was clearly in America. So I don't understand, what the fuck are we doing in Paris? Why was that needed? Was it because of the museum? There's fucking museums here. You could have done this whole thing in fucking Burbank. What? Why is this here? Also, another what the fuck I have is that the entire movie, Fuad Ramses, which, let's be honest, is such a goofy ass fucking name that for a serious movie, you can't take it seriously. Like, I know the more I talk about this, the more I feel like, okay, so they have been taking goofy strides through this entire movie, but trust me, when you watch it, it doesn't feel goofy in any way. But Fuad Ramses is so chase about how he tells Caroline Williams at one point, who's very aware that he's off of his meds. And it's never told to us why she's so fucking upset about him being off of his meds. Like, the lore of this movie is just not explained at all, but it weighs heavily on the characters in ways that we just never get privy to the information of why that would be. But when he starts having the hallucinations and decides he's going to enact the blood feast and has this plan, he tells Caroline Williams that he has an idea of how he's going to bring the family back. And she asks him, "Oh, do tell." And he's like, "In due time." And she just like accepts that. Oh, okay. What woman have you ever met, guys? And I'm talking to my hetero straight dudes that are in relationships. What lady has ever accepted in any way you saying, "You'll see," without incessantly asking and following up and digging into what you're doing and being suspicious as to what you're doing? And it keeps happening throughout the entire movie. She'll keep, "Oh, so how's your thing going?" "You'll see." In no way has any woman ever taken that to be a good thing. Immediately they'd be like, "Motherfucker, what are you doing?" So what the fuck? Especially from an obviously mentally unwell man, and just taking those words at face value. It just makes no fucking sense. And then another what the fuck I have is that in order to like up the body count in this movie, all of a sudden in the middle of the night in one scene, this lady's car breaks down near the diner, and she goes to the diner and he acts like he's calling for help to like a mechanic or police or somebody to come help. And he tells her, okay, and this woman is fucking a model. She is so gorgeous, like done to the nines, this lady. Tells the lady, yeah, they'll be here in about 45 minutes. And she looks at him out of nowhere. This was the second instance of like a weird sexual reference. She looks at him and basically says, "How about I, make this up to you?" And he goes, "Sure. You have beautiful eyes." And she literally looks him in the face and says, "Yeah? Well, how would you like to see them looking up at you with cum all over my face?" Out of fucking nowhere. What the fuck? I know this shit that I'm telling you is so goofy, but it's played so straight that it comes off like the attempts in Veronica. Like there's a very similar disconnected tone between this Blood Feast movie and Glenn Danzig's Veronica. Like, honestly, this movie is not as shittily produced as Veronica, but the tone of it feels like so off-putting, and the attempts at humor don't land at all. Like, at all. So it makes you wonder, like, what made you think this was serious or sexy in any fucking way? So that's kind of all I got for Blood Feast, made in 2016. It is just not a good movie, and not a movie. I know I watched this. I think I got it from when Family Video was going under and they were selling off their entire fucking video stock for like $1 a piece or whatever. So I picked this thing up, and I've seen it before, and I remember not liking it at all. But this episode and our next episode, I decided to like dig through my stacks of DVDs and start kind of watching stuff that before I had thought was kind of shitty, and maybe I would have a renewed like appreciation for these movies. Given it's been, it's almost 2026, almost 10 years since this movie came out. But ultimately, yeah, dude, this is terrible, and I'll never watch this again. But it still has enough about it that I could see some people finding some enjoyment out of this. I just think it's a total fucking piece of shit. Like, it misses the mark in such a drastic way that I can't recommend this to a single other person. And that's all I got to say. Next episode of the podcast, like I just said, I've had, and I think I might have made reference of this to Ken's on our Cemetery Sisters episode, but forever I've had, because of one of these liquidation sales, I have the entire trilogy of the I Spit on Your Grave remake series on Blu-ray. And I fell down a rabbit hole, people. I watched all three of them. And we're going to talk about all three of them next episode of Worst Movies Ever. So next episode, the I Spit on Your Grave remake trilogy is going to be on the chopping block. And we're going to talk about that. So until then, people, please take care of yourselves, and I'll talk to you soon.
Worst Movies Ever podcast is executive produced by Vaughn Kuhlmeyer and Shannon Smith. For more Worst Movies Ever, and to make the Doctor watch your worst movies ever, subscribe to the Worst Movies Ever Patreon at patreon.com/Worst Movies Ever. There you will get a monthly exclusive WME podcast plucked from the user-generated film list, randomized episode to episode. Until next time, celebrate trash at all costs. Toodles.